Welcome to Fridays with Anne. This is a series of conversations with Belgian homeopath Anne Vervaeke about homeopathy. I will ask her curiously whatever confuses me in homeopathy, like case taking, case analysis, or theory in general, and Anne will answer according to her insights, experience, and most recent findings. You, the viewer, are invited to participate actively, so please feel free to send in comments and questions. And now today's episode of Fridays with Anne. Good morning and welcome to Fridays with Anne and today's session. Good morning, Anne.
Good morning, Joost.
So, in the last session, we had we covered another group of remedies, the fungi, and I would now like to go back, so to say, to where we left off with the classification of diseases, because there, at that moment, we already promised we would talk about levels. Well, we would talk about on which level we need to prescribe for the patient at the moment. I would like to talk about this topic. So that already kind of includes that we can prescribe on several levels. Would you please elaborate on that? What does that mean?
Okay, that's a very interesting topic. Yes, we talked about it. Let's say we touched on it here and there in the previous Fridays, but maybe it's a good idea to like get it all together and round it up. Yes, we can prescribe on different levels, but as we are classical homeopaths, we try to prescribe on the deepest level because that's Hahnemannian idea that the dynamics, the disturbance is beyond mind and body. So all the symptoms on mind and body we consider coming from the source that is beyond. So we try to fix that. We try to harmonize that, and then there's no reason for producing signs and symptoms yet.
Yeah.
That's let's say the general idea. There are exceptions, and of course the exception we all know is when you have to prescribe on an acute. That's I think clear for everybody, although sometimes I have to remind students or the beginning homeopaths when somebody has like let's say 3 or 4 times bronchitis in the winter time, that's not an acute. Yeah, we know this is a chronic underlying state with flare-ups, and we probably will have better results when we try to prescribe on a miasmatic way, as Hahnemann would have called it. So we would prescribe the similimum rather than trying to deal with the so-called acute symptoms of the bronchitis, because they're not really acute. But you know what I mean with the real acute. There's a prodrome, there's like a flare-up of symptoms, and usually it leaves without any trace. And either the disease wins or the patient wins. Of course, we don't wait for that result. That's what a real acute is defined by.
And because we mentioned we can prescribe on different levels, to what levels do we refer to?
That would be level 1 if it's an acute. That would be.
I mean, levels. We're talking about the levels that you use also to categorize the symptoms or the information of the patient.
Yes, so you know this little scheme, this diagram with concentric circles, where the innermost is the physical, then the level around it is the energy level of the energy body. Then you have emotional, around it you have the mental, and around it you have the vital. So 1 and 2 is the physical body, 3 or 4 is the mind. So you have the body and the mind, and then as you prescribe a similimum, you prescribe on the level beyond. That's the whole idea. It's just a graphical representation that I find easy to work with and to visualize. So the physical symptom would be, a physical problem would be on level 1. An energetic disturbance, and I think we talked about that, would be on level 2, and that's the energy body, or the energetic aspect of the physical. So if somebody comes and they said, I feel so exhausted for months, I have a burnout, and my muscles ache and my sleep is bad, that's obviously not an acute. It is a physical experience. That would be a prescription on level 2. And all these so-called modern diseases have symptoms on mainly on this energy level. The fatigues and the fibromyalgia and the Lyme kind of disturbance and all those syndromes. Are disturbances that express themselves on this energy level. And what I've seen in my practice, if you prescribe a similimum, often it doesn't work. So you're forced to prescribe on that level first.
Okay. So you mentioned acutes. Acutes would be the first level.
Yeah.
And now this second level, energetic level, for these metabolic diseases.
Yes.
Or not only metabolic, but these including metabolic diseases and also other syndromes. And how do I then, because if I take the case, how would I know then which symptoms belong to what, so to say?
Okay,
to what level?
To what level? Well, I would again refer to common sense. Yeah, you know that. So if let's say there's a flu epidemic, well, that's level 1. It wasn't there before. It is not the person in his core being that is disturbed. It's just something that goes around.
Yeah.
So you will know, maybe the energy level will be influenced as well, but the physical complaints will be on the foreground. Somebody has an accident, you don't have to think twice. When it's bad enough, it's not the person's essence that is bruised, it's his body. His essence, you might think for a more suitable remedy, but most of the time it's his physical complaints. Any epidemic, cholera we heard about on the news, you would treat the cholera. So that is not difficult. The energy level, when do you know? When the experience is there, the disturbance is there, because the patient will tell you in all length. They will complain about their not functioning energy body. They're depleted, they have no energy, they suffer from vague symptoms, they're not taken seriously because they might not look bad, but they feel miserable. Yeah, they're hard to diagnose, and the whole day is filled with just trying to eat, digest, stay awake. Sleep.
Yes, okay, but if, for example, the patient comes for the first time and I don't know them yet, for my prescription, it doesn't really matter because I just prescribe on what he tells me.
Yes.
But how can I then theoretically know on which level the symptoms are that he presents? How do I know this is not the vital prescription or remedy, but an energy level prescription?
Good question. For a vital remedy, you need the whole pattern. You need it all.
Yeah.
And the more the symptoms are characteristic to the uniqueness of the person, the more you likely are prescribing a similimum.
Right.
The more your remedy covers, let's say, the energy level, all the generalities, because energy level covers a lot of generalities, the less likely you are prescribing a similimum, but it might be benefiting the patient better. So your similimum prescription will include the mind, and how do you know? The patient will tell you all his symptoms, and then your let's say the question you always ask, a common question is, how does this make you feel? I understood you feel miserable, you're depleted, you're exhausted, you cannot do this, you cannot eat that, you don't sleep well, you can't concentrate. Okay, how does it make you feel? Now, if the patient tells you about his, how to say, results, the natural, expectable results of this syndrome, it is not very typical. If everybody would feel like this, it's not belonging to his core being. You can expect that he's irritated, or he's annoyed, or he feels a little depressed. All those kind of things would be absolutely natural if day by day you're feeling miserable. But if something more personal peeps through, something that doesn't belong to the disease, you're not the patient. When it belongs to the patient, you're on your way to a similimum prescription.
Right. But that also means that it doesn't necessarily, if I don't come from the other way, where I have already prescribed a remedy which I think is the similimum remedy, and it didn't work, if I see it for the first time, it could also mean that it's the same remedy, no?
Could be, but it would be like a real masterpiece if you could prescribe a similimum on these vague syndromes.
Right, yes. Yeah.
Because we don't even have clear keynotes usually.
I see. I mean, it could coincide that these vague symptoms of his depleted energy body coincide with the experience behind it.
It could, but I think it's rare.
It must be very rare. Okay, yeah. Okay, well, just theoretically now.
Yes, but it could be. Let's say the person needs constitutionally carbo-veg.
Yes.
Yes, for instance.
Yeah.
We have those remedies that, let's say, by nature are very weak.
Yeah.
Yeah. But then you would hear it throughout his life.
Yeah.
It's not starting at a certain point. It's not this burnout that I have since a year or something.
Yeah.
Then you would hear, I always been an ailing child and I stay home from school half of the time and whatnot.
Yeah. Yeah, I see, exactly. All right, okay. So, do you have any speculation on why the similimum doesn't work when they have this energetic problem?
I have a few speculations, but it's not more than that, because these syndromes seem to be new. We call them new diseases, diseases for the 21st century. So they must have something to do with lifestyle. And they're epidemic in the Western world.
Yeah.
They must have something to do with the Western world lifestyle. And so what's in common there? Well, it's pollution, it's toxic additions in the food, in the air, in the soil, in the water. So they must have something to do with toxins, with stress. So in a highly stressed environment, by noise, by pressure of how to say, achieving, and all kind of things. So under constant bombardment of information, of influences that are eating our energy body dry without feeding it.
Yeah.
So if you use a lot, you have to get a lot, but we don't get anything.
Yeah.
Hardly anything.
Yeah, I see what you mean.
So if the circumstances are such that you can't escape, and they have resulted in not only a depleted, but what I also said, a damaged energy body. I think we have to repair it first.
Yes.
The energy body can at least keep some energy inside before it can build up.
Yeah.
And it has to build up before the simillimum will hold, because
Right.
the simillimum doesn't even seem to have the capacity to change anything. Like there's no energy left.
But that is possible then, to affect the energy body constitutionally without using the constitutional remedy.
I think so too. I can compare it to, like, say, a marathon runner. Like he's running a marathon, but not one, but constantly. Like constantly. Now you can pop in as many simillimum remedies as you want. He will drop dead one day. I mean, he will exhaust himself to the finish. There's no way you can treat him while he's running.
Yeah.
He has to stop one day and recover.
Yeah, I see.
And it's like, that is what our patients are doing. They keep running, and we try to pop a remedy in for the alignment and harmonizing all of it while they're exhausting their body, or already exhausted their energy to the maximum. There doesn't seem anything left to just live on.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Okay, interesting. So that is level 2, energy level. Can we prescribe on level 3?
Yeah, you can imagine that's the emotional level. Somebody has encountered, let's say, an unsurmountable trauma. Something very, very, very traumatic happened, or something he can't overcome.
Yeah.
And like stays in it, like is overwhelmed by it. There's nothing else but. You might consider. So it's not that I would recommend to prescribe Staphysagra each time somebody has a fit of anger or indignation. That's not what I'm saying.
Yeah.
It has to be like the whole case is only this emotion.
Yeah.
It's not somebody's grieving because he missed somebody or he lost somebody, but it's like the grief is bottomless. Bottomless. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
Then I might consider it as almost as an acute. Something happened on the emotional level. The body doesn't know how to recover from this without help.
Yeah. Have you had a case like that?
No, very rare. Occasionally, but not even once a year, I think.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's very rare. But I don't exclude it. It's not like not done. Yes, if a patient asks for it, then give it.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Okay. And then level 4. Level 4, the mental level. How would it be on that level?
That's the most difficult to discern from the 5th, right? That's always the problem. Are we describing on level 4 or level 5? Is it imagination? Is it association? Or is it a vital experience? And the one-liner I always give, if it's a product of the mind, it's level 4. If it's not a product of the mind, it's level 5. And that's a question you can always ask. Is it something somebody thought about, dreamed about, imagined, feared, whatever? If it's a product of his mind, it's not, of course, the sensation level will translate by the mind, but that's something different. It's like the patient doesn't know where it comes from. And then the homeopath, pretend he knows.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's the first thing, how to discern 5 from 4.
Yeah.
And when do you prescribe on 4? Because normally you don't. It's when the patient gets stuck on the mythical level. And we had a whole Friday talk about that. The mythical level is this issue in a person's life that has a beginning, with strong pathology, severe pathology, and he has this conflict that he can't find any solution for, and it's the whole case.
Yeah.
And it has a clear beginning, like out of the blue. The patient wasn't like that before. If you treat him with a remedy that will be different from his similimum, he probably will need it only once, and then he's back to where he was before. He's back to natural state, now requiring a level 5 remedy. If there's any symptoms, he might be so happy that he's freed of his pathology that you'll never see him again. Okay, that's fine. You did your job, you did a good job. The patient feels released, his problem is solved, his symptoms are gone, fine. He probably won't realize that he's now in his natural state, disease state, and you can do even more, but that's no problem.
Yeah. Okay.
And I want to add a little thing. If you treat him on level 5, the difference will be that the patient will be changed. So after a prescription on level 4, or level 3, or level 2, level 1, the patient will be back to where he was before the symptoms started. With level 5, he will be changed. That's what we're trying to do. He will be better. His mind will be more at ease. His consciousness will be expanded. His physical body will have more energy, and the symptoms will either disappear or become, like trivial. And so the patient is changed and permanently. So he's not back to before. He's better, and he's getting better and better as the treatment continues. So after 2 years, he will be better than after 1 year. After 1 year, he will be much better than since the moment he consulted you. And that's different with the other prescriptions. Then they will be back to where they were before.
Now, I understand that. Now I can imagine that it's not the easiest thing to judge in a follow-up whether the patient is changed. I mean, okay, with a very physical acute symptoms, I think the higher the level is, the more difficult it must be to discern that, no?
Not really. The patient will focus on the physicals, of course, because that's his main complaint or the reason why he sees you. But we have other criteria. And always, it's more reliable when you don't ask for them and they come spontaneously. And what we like to hear in a spontaneous way, not asking, is that the patient, in his own words, says something like, I feel lighter, I feel less concerned, I'm more careless, I didn't think about it anymore. All these synonyms that actually point to one thing. My mind becomes at rest. I'm more okay with myself and the situation. That's what we like to hear. The problem they have, they seem to diminish. The people who are causing trouble seem to cause less trouble. We all know that. And we know for sure all the people around them stay the same. And if the situation that hasn't changed, for some mysterious reason for the patient, doesn't bother them so much anymore. That's what we like to hear. And then we know the similimum is working. It's not only taking away the symptoms. Now the patient will use the same words and tell you the same feelings. And some homeopaths say, oh, my remedy didn't do anything. But I always say, what do you expect him to say? That he talks with the words of somebody else? He's still the same person with the same mind, with the same history, with the same memory. So he will use the same vocabulary. He doesn't change his vocabulary because you gave him a remedy. But we want to see these little hints, to hear these little hints between the lines. That, to summarize, say, my intensity of symptoms went down.
Yeah, I think this is important to emphasize that even though you say the patient is changing, that the change is rather subtle.
It is So many homeopaths say, yeah, but the patient is still saying the same thing, the remedy doesn't do anything. Yeah, but the intensity went down 50%. The patient looks in the mirror, he finds himself still the same. Of course he is. Some patients say, we know that the remedy didn't do anything, and we see them coming in and they're already changed that everybody sees. But you don't even feel it. Why? Because you feel yourself the same, and something that is disappearing slowly, slowly is not mentioned. And when it's still there, but not as intense, they will say it's still there.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
Which is true.
Yeah, which is true, but which makes it also very difficult because the patients don't know what we're looking for, and we cannot explain to the patient what we're looking for.
No, no, it's a weird job, isn't it?
It's a real job.
Weird. And they expect the symptoms to go away. And if the homeopath expects the same thing, like in 2-3 weeks, the symptoms must go away and the patient must be more or less smiling, happy, achieving, having now a fruitful practice, whereas 3 weeks ago it didn't work, and they find the soulmate. Well, you're in a complete delusion, you know.
Yeah.
It won't be a success story only to confirm what a great homeopath you are. You will complain all the same. It's up to us to see if the volume went down. And then we have to encourage them. We have to say, I see you're making progress, which is really, really remarkable, because you went in one direction for 35 or 40 years, and now I see the direction is changing. We're on the good way to restoration. And then they might say, yeah, now, indeed, you know.
Yeah. It's good to remember always the scale on which we're judging the case. Yeah.
Yes, and you know the pace in which we want results depends on the level. Of course, in an acute, you want acute results, same day.
Yeah.
No, sometimes
I was just gonna say, the lower the level, probably, or maybe not always proportionally, might be also with the exhausted energy bodies, that it's also not a very quick response.
No, that takes a while, because you need to release the toxins. You have to like flood the patient with energy in all possible ways, and that will take time. Yeah, that's a big restoration. That will take time. But for instance, the mythical prescriptions might come like miracles. We talked about it. That the moment the patient is like confronted with his myth that keeps him in prison, it might release, like open the door, and the symptoms might disappear like snow for the sun, never to come back again.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, well, so that will be 4th and 5th level. Would you have what is your general approach to this? Would you recommend to always go for Silmillimum level first, or are there cases where you would go straight, well, other than acute cases, which is clearer, would you recommend to go for other levels?
Depending on the patient. It absolutely depends on the patient. Somebody comes with eczema, what do you think? We're going to try to find the Silmillimum, eh? Somebody comes with a baby, 2 years, 1.5 years, 2 years, with chronic snotty noses and colds and whatever. We try to find a Silmillimum, because that's not an acute. I think the majority of our cases are not acute.
Yes, no, without a doubt. I mean, the acutes seem to be easier to identify. I mean, other than the acutes, like level 2, level 3, level 4 prescriptions, would you always first try to go for a Silmillimum, and then if it doesn't work, prescribe on other levels?
That's the way I work, because you know, I'm the Silmillimum prescriber, and I've always been one, from the idea that the Silmillimum is like the most characteristic. touches the inner core, and if you touch the source, then all the rest will disappear. But it's not always the case. And you know, I told you there are many homeopaths now who start detox programs.
Yeah.
And it makes sense. In some cases, I can see that it would be better to do this. And if you're like a specialist, and some, let's say, the rumor goes around, if patients are good with these detox programs, they tell others, and then you get patients who come for the detox program.
Yeah.
Because they see the result with others. So that's a good thing. And it's good to specialize in that, which I'm not. And I might even refer people to people who are more specialized than me, and like, maybe you should at the same time or first try a detox program, because that's causing your problem. Sometimes we have the idea that if the symptom clearly started since vaccination, because they went on, let's say, to another continent and they have a whole lot of vaccinations, and ever since it started on holiday, but it never stopped their problem, you might try to give a remedy that would deblock the vaccination.
Yeah.
The homeopathic putsi. Start the case from there, and then see what's left.
Yeah, but it's interesting now that you mentioned the detox approach. Isn't it also to be expected that a constitutional remedy would contribute to detoxification if the body was able to?
I'm not sure, because in a way we say it's toxins, it's poisons.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if you give a simillimum that the body knows how to get rid of poisons, because they're all of the time, everywhere. It's not like just one thing that you get in your body and it knows how to expel it, but there are about 250, I think, are now in our blood, and it is possible that the body just gets overloaded.
I understand. I mean, at the end, I think that even detox remedies just work if the body is capable of doing it, because the remedy itself, so to say, doesn't do anything. It just informs the body on how to do things, and that's why I'm asking: does a constitutional remedy also have a capability?
It is in the books. I would say it's in the books that, you know, you give sulfur, that the body starts excreting sulfuric constituents and all that. But I think this was a time when you had like these clear poisons. You had like mercury poisoning, or you had like, you know, plumbum poisoning or something, and you could get rid of that because it's accumulating. But we have no idea of the, can I call it, the synergy of these 250 poisons in our body that weakens our immune system and organs of excretion, liver and kidneys and all that, and probably the gut flora is not as healthy as it could be. It seems to me asked much of a simillimum to harmonize all that, but maybe it's possible. I don't know. If it can go against all this tide, you know, it's a lot.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, we talked about this, as I believe it's mind over matter. So it is possible that when you can get, let's say, a healthy mind, a mental body, and an emotional body, which is a result mostly of your mental convictions, that, you know, your state of being is, I'm healthy no matter what, and then you give instructions to your body, like, you know, get rid of all the toxins. It's possible. But a lot of our patients, it would be too voodoo.
Yeah, it would be too voodoo, and I think it requires a really, really healthy mind, which is also not too common.
No, but I believe that it's possible that with your mind you can stay healthy. That your mind, as you know, give instructions to the matter. But then first you have to have this healthy mind, I think, and this faith. And the patient who comes to us, they expect us, somebody outside themselves, to do magical tricks with magical pills, you know. While we might believe in our heart that actually it's their self-healing capacities that we try to enhance.
Yeah.
And their connection to the things larger than them, to their soul, to the divine, whether they know it or not.
Yeah. Great. Okay. So today we finally covered this area of prescribing on different levels. We went through all the levels, 1 to 5. Yeah, so I think for the moment we can conclude with this the topic of classification of diseases anyway.
Yeah.
And can go back to speaking a bit more about groups, families in the next sessions.
Okay. Yeah, that'll be exciting.
Yes. Okay, so thank you very much, Anne. I look forward to seeing you again.
Me too. See you next Friday.
Bye-bye.
Bye, Joost.